I want to go to my next question here. And from what I understand, you have met Leiji Matsumoto. And what I wanted to ask you was, how did that meeting come about? You know, you're working on 999, you're working with the web ring, things go from one place to another, and how did that come about?
With the web ring and Tokinawa, we were very lucky, and again, it's thanks to Watcha and company. They got in touch with Leiji Matsumoto's exhibitor, or the gallery owner who exhibits Matsumoto's work. So Mr.
In
Fukuoka.
Japan?
Yeah, Mr. Fukuoka. And he like once per year, he comes to Paris to do a sale of originals, not only Matsumoto, but also Ghibli and other artists like that. And one year he's in Paris, and Watcha suggests we invite him to a restaurant. So we did. We brought him to a very nice Italian restaurant, and actually it's a funny thing because we told him through his translator that it would be like on Saturday night. On Saturday morning, we see that he contacted us and saying, "But I was in the restaurant yesterday and nobody was there." He came on Friday night, and he really enjoyed the restaurant. So he came back on Saturday night again when he realized that he had actually there was a mix-up in the date. Oh, so we go to the restaurant with Mr. Fukuoka, and I find myself sitting next to him and talking about him a lot through his translator. And at the end of the dinner, we're leaving, we're paying and so on. And he basically tells me something in Japanese, and the translator gives me a big smile and he's saying that if you come to Japan, send him a message and he will make you meet Mr. Matsumoto. And I'm like, okay, like that will ever happen, but some things you remember very well. Yes. And like 2 years later, I was on my honeymoon, and my wife and I were going to Japan for the honeymoon. And I say, you know what? I will actually send a message on Facebook to Mr. Fukuoka and say, hey, I don't know if you remember me. We'll be in Japan. So, if there's any chance to meet Mr. Matsumoto, it would be a great honor. And I basically don't hear from him like for a week. Next week, the week after that, we are in Japan. We are like preparing our schedule, and suddenly I receive a message from Mr. Fukuoka saying like, come to my gallery tonight at this hour, and I will take you to Mr. Matsumoto. And we're like, whoa. and so that's how it happened. We went to the gallery, and he had some work to finish, so he told us, okay, wait here. You can see here I have some originals from Tezuka, and we were like, and he had some originals from Matsumoto as well, and it was crazy. And then very late, like 9 or 10 p.m., he said, okay, now we go. So he took us in his car, and his car actually has a plate 999.
Right.
Very nice. And so he took us in the suburbs of Tokyo, and we ended up at Leiji Matsumoto's place. And it was completely surreal, and yeah, amazing. It was an amazing evening because we were very, very blessed because there was Matsumoto Sensei, of course, but there was also his wife, Maki Sensei, who was there and who stayed with us. And later, Mr. Fukuoka told us that actually never happens. Usually, Mrs. Maki leaves Leiji do his thing and don't stay, doesn't stay. But she decided to stay with us, and so yeah, it was a very, very amazing time. And when Mr. Fukuoka dropped us at our hotel later, we were like, what just happened? It was like, whoa, we stepped into the Twilight Zone or something. But it's amazing.
You stepped into the Leijiverse is what happened.
Exactly. and it's very funny because when you see Matsumoto on stage or when he comes doing conference in France anyway, he always tells the story of how they let him pilot the Concorde.
Yes.
So that's his big story. And every time he tells it, it becomes bigger and bigger.
Yes, the fish expands.
And when we went at his home, he started telling the story, and then his wife basically gave him a kick with the elbow and saying,
"Shut up about the planes."
No. It was more like stop telling this fairy tale. It never happened. And so every time Matsumoto comes and starts doing the Concorde story, I'm like, yeah, I know the truth. But he's a storyteller. It's part of the character.
Yes. He wants to tell it in his way, and it's special. It's probably better that way. Yeah. So when you were at his abode, what stuck out to you? I mean, you're saying it's like going into the Leijiverse, and that makes total sense. What were some things that stuck out for you?
Well, the two things that, and every time I talk about it with my wife, is something that we always mention, is that their kindness, really the kindness of Matsumoto and Maki Sensei. They were really, really nice, they made time for a couple of French guys coming out of nowhere. So and they talked, and my wife learns Japanese, so she can at least talk a bit. I don't, but she talked with Mrs. Maki a lot, and so there was a real interaction. It was not just like a star.
Yeah.
Out of reach. Right. And what was funny is that Matsumoto had some pages from the latest Captain Harlock manga, Dimension Voyage, the one that's being drawn. It's finished now, but that was being drawn by Koichi Shimaboshi, and he was like he was there reviewing the pages, and he started saying like, yeah. That's the latest pages I received. I'm asking for this change and this change and so. And it was very open about it, like, hey, since you're here, come and see this,
Yeah.
So that was very sweet. And no, it was a really great encounter. And I have the photos, the pictures to prove that it happened. I'm still not completely convinced myself that it did,
Yeah, you were hallucinating, but it sounds like a good hallucination nonetheless. So,
but for me, it was really the highlight of the honeymoon.
Yes, you met Senpai and he noticed you, and that's always a good feeling.